so many ideas going on in this project, but it's just the start.
Good design is all about creating that moment of bliss.
This is really also the hospitality and the tourism of tomorrow.
This is what we want to show.
We have created something which blends into the environment, and the house itself is basically seamless.
Imagine you were able to just teletransport.
You are on your own island in the center of Amsterdam.
I think you have to go there to believe it.
Now, our next winner is MIA Design Studio for a project in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. And this has won the House and Villa category in an urban or suburban context. And I should just say that we had so many entries for House and Villa that we decided it made more sense to look at the context, whether it is essentially urban or essentially rural. And that's why later on today we'll see another house and villa, but in a rather different context. So we look forward to the presentation, and over to you, MIA, and welcome.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Man, Principal Architect of MIA Design Studio, and my colleague is Trung, Team Leader. So today I will tell you about our story in Vietnam, especially in Ho Chi Minh City. So let me introduce you some thing about Vietnam position. It's just under China, and we tropical climate all around, like Thailand and Cambodia and Laos. Well, this the current our city where the project located, you see it's very dense, very crowded. And let me brief you a little bit of figures how the urbanization occupied the city from 1985 to 2020. So you see the black, the green areas has been less and less throughout the years. And let's talk about the greeneries and the public space from 1885 to 2015. So you see the same figure we had learned. So the city very quick urbanized. So the open space less and less. So what you had seen, the red line with the white box, is where the project is located. So you see all the high-rise surrounding. And on the master plan, you see all the high-rise surrounding. And like the project is like a middle of the concrete jungle. So the question for architect and how we can deal with the context and how we can design ourselves without depending on don't have to see the concrete mountains surrounding. So our intention, idea is how to maximize the open space of inner the house. So we have to sacrifice 50% of the house built for actual living, and for the rest 50% of the house is for looking. So by doing that, we imagine like a box, we take out all the solid part and leave it for the hollow space in dialogue with living space internally. So this diagram shows 50% of actual living and 50% for creating the open space direct connection, vertical and horizontal, to the living space. For the rooftop, we create urban garden for the family use, vegetable and flowers, or any to cool down for the living space under. Let me introduce our layout of the ground floor, and everything has, this area is connected for the both sides, and the others we bring the landscape into the interior space as much as we can. And above, for the second level, as you see what we mentioned, like 2 bedrooms small with the minimal, just enough for living. And we create this space which is very well connected with our own open space from both sides. And the middle is the big void, go all the way to the rooftop. And the third level is the same approaching. So 50% for actual living space and 50% leave it for the landscape. And the void in the middle still go all the way up for communication between human and human, family members and human with nature. Well, we are fascinating to see how the section is worked through the house, and we see the very strong connection we create to bring the landscape to the interior space through the transition is the void. The other section, the same, and the house very well connected with all surrounding, because we use the more or less the same height, more or less the same plot size, same volume. So the interesting of architecture is we let nature taking over the architecture. So bring the nature into the house without depending on surrounding, and we open all the windows, follow what we want to see. So in order to get the light, natural ventilation to the house, and for the rest, inside and outside would be very simple in the ways for finishing, and the space create by its own of the house. So don't have to look to the concrete jungle high-rise surrounding. So the design of the space, leave it very simple and show very well connected with outside, horizontal and vertical. This is the relationship between the space. So this transition space of the every floor we have. So the house very well connected. The people, family members can see, can talk to each other through the void. And that's how to bring nature, light, green, and waters, and not only for natural light, also very well designed to show, to respect the nature from the interior space. So the link between the open space that you see, and finally, with the aim of seeing the context of the site, very difficult to present, to find a solution for the architecture, but somehow we find a way to keep the balance, bring the nature into interior space. So what our lesson we learned is today, if everybody can think the same way, so our urban can be very enthusiastic, very very good for the people in the family, and the others from the urban context is very good for the city. Thank you.
Thank you very much. What a huge challenge, and what imagination. Kim, would you like to start?
Thank you. Yeah, you have a problem and then you get architecture. That's how it is. I think it's great to see how you took this challenge out, and it's devastating to see how much greenery is taken out of the area where you're building in. So you choose to build a house where you don't see the surroundings, but where you create and stage your own greenery around it. Have you thought about working with sustainable in other ways than just the greenery? How is it with is there any elements in it, sustainable elements in the building as such?
So the building itself is we by create the open space for 50%. So we create the natural airflow and natural light. So we get the natural ventilation for horizontal and vertical. So we also understand that how to deal with natural light throughout the day. So we limited the energy consumption, because Ho Chi Minh City is tropical, it's very hot. So by doing so, on top of it, we have the rooftop garden with the farming for the family, and also reduce the energy consumption, the direct sunlight during the day to the building. Yeah.
Thank you. Christina.
Do you have an image of the rooftop garden? Because I understood the interior gardens, and I believe that those trees are outside, not inside, correct? Even though they're enclosed on all sides, it's a ventilated out exterior space. Is that correct? The trees that you showed on the inside. I'm just trying to understand the condition of the landscape, and you showed some images of trees that were inside. And then this sort of seems that the building is bursting with landscape, which is a wonderful image. And then I didn't see what happens on the rooftop. But how is the experience of the rooftop in relation to the surrounding buildings? Was my question. Because that image here.
Yeah, this is the third level. So we have, as you see, this is the second level. So where we plant the tree, go up to the third level and until to the roof. And if you see, this is also second level. And both sides is open space in the middle of the void. And to allow the certain opening window to allow for the sunlight, and you see the landscape, what you create for. I show you quick. This is a second level. Go to third level and going out through the window where we create for the opening. And also some part, you see this is the rooftop. Yeah.
Right. So that's open to this. This is a green.
Yeah. So this area for opening from both sides is open until up to the roof. So you see the handrails. We limit it until here. Yeah.
Thank you very much. No.
I was saying that I totally understand the concept of the house and that kind of dialogue between interior and exterior, and that in Vietnam we want that kind of spaces because there's much more ventilation, and because it's hot, you don't have to isolate from the cold. You can have that kind of spaces that are layers of spaces. That basically the house is like an onion that you have several layers to the inner core. What I like to ask you is how did you? This is in the end of the day, the outcome is a very different architecture. That for the client is something that probably they have never seen. So how was the design process with the client? Did you add? Did you struggle to make them to have them understand what they're getting as a final product?
Very interesting question. Thank you. So we had a difficult task. Like okay, normally the house you design, you look to outside, but here, I mean, client had the land. So what shall we do if we see all around it's a high-rise building? Of course, we still can open out, but there is a way we find convince our client we don't depend on very much to outside. We still so the tropical climate, you see, very important that we had sun shading overhang. So this is the void to integrate the landscape into it. It's kind of indirect to create more interesting transition space as the tropical country. So on the one hand, to make for the space for the house less hot during the day, and second, to provide for an extra, extremely for integrate the landscape into to the living space. So we don't need so much other things. If we find a solution to bring in the nature into the house, so that the best we can do for our client to make their life happy, because especially when the COVID time, so the people are stressed to stay in Saigon, in the city, for 3 months. So what can they do if they don't connect it with outside? So here we have fully space from the rooftop and for whole exercise between up and down the house for the spirit, for the health, physical health for the people. Yeah.
Thank you. And Abdul Kader.
Much for your presentation and for this lovely project, which looks to me as modern as opposite to the modernity. It's strange that we have a very modern building. In fact, if we look just to the building, to the white part of the building, so it's in the tradition of modernity. And in the same time, it's completely opposite to this. And I find this very, very, very stunning, very, very interesting. But I really like and appreciate your work. It's really a big challenge. But I have just one question. Your house is like a paradise isolated from the world. So if we think that architecture have to be a paradise that isolate us from the world, doesn't you think that it's not really nature but a fiction that you are giving to your client? Because in fact the real world where they live is not that. It's not that. So I have a bit. Just about the concept, but really, really, really beautiful work.
Thank you. Well, very hard question that I didn't think that so far. We simply think that when we receive the task from our client with the context of surrounding, so what can we do? We don't make ourselves difficult, but we see there's still architecture can help for the house owner. By solution, you create a transition space that is encouraged for the people to look outside, to go outside. And by the time, if we can integrate with the nature into the interiors or transition space where the tropical needed, climate needed. So that's how far we think. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Lovely presentation, an intriguing project, and thank you very much for your time today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.